So, quick review of what we did. I just try to remember if I give you enough information on form shadows and cast shadows. I was going to do it with noses and teeth. Maybe I should do that. So, just point a light up my nose, point a light up my face. So, and now I have the disadvantage that I actually can't see without my glasses. So, one thing to note about form shadows and cast shadows is when you've got stuff in the light, there is a general level of light. So, general level of light, but then you also get a highlight. As we go round, it's not great, I've actually got more than one source of light in here, but as we go round a corner, we get this thing called the core of the shadow, and then we get some reflected light underneath that. And how quickly these processes happen. So, for example, there we've got a nice quick transition, there we've got a slower transition, and here we've got a quick transition. Here we've got some quick transitions, slower transition. Nice, that's a good example. Nice quick transition. So, quick transition, slower transition. Oh, great. Anyway, so we've got this pattern of light to general light, of highlight to general light, to core of shadows, to reflected light. And how quickly those happen will give you form. We've also got things like cast shadows. She says trying to get myself, so tell you what, that's a cast shadow. That pencil on the face, that's a cast shadow. If I stick a pencil sticking out my face, you see that it casts a shadow. So you can just about see one going from my nose. That's a cast shadow. Quite diffuse light today, it's not ideal. So you're looking for those cast shadows. And they are the reason, they are one of two reasons why it's really important not to commit to line until quite later on. So even though I have got a line here, it's not really a line, it's a patch of dark against a patch of light. But more generally on the face, these patterns of light and dark are the things that give it the form. Whereas if I did outline, it would be a style and it might work, but it would reduce it to cartoony. And if you certainly start with line and then colour in, you really are more likely to struggle. On the topic of teeth, because that's a regular one that comes up, I'll do a quick little demo on. You deserve a fresh piece of paper. That's not a fresh piece of paper. So, cool shoes. So let's say we're drawing a mouth. So, and it's got its teeth out. Now, if you smile, that upper lip goes pretty tight. So it becomes more of a straight line. And depending on the orientation of the head, will determine whether it seems like a straight line or like a curve or like a downward curve. So this idea that there's a picture plane that's a piece of glass between you and reality is a really useful one. So if you've got a smile, upper lip's kind of like that, and even the Cupid's bow stuff gets thinned out. Lower lip, kind of a bit more like that. That upper lip will both be in the dark part of the form shadow and be casting a shadow onto the teeth. So let's say you had some nice teeth there. Whoa. So worthwhile remembering teeth. You've got your two Bugs Bunny ones at the front. Then you got a couple of smaller incisors. Then you got your canines. And as we go back and back and back and back, we can see less and less of them. The next thing to note is these guys get the most light, and as we go back, these guys get less light. So if we were just looking at teeth on their own, scratchy, scratchy, scratchy. So if we're just looking at teeth on their own, let's put some gums in there. We're looking at this kind of pattern of light and dark, but then it's really, really important to not actually leave strong lines. So what we do is we subtle off those lines, put them in a little bit, but then lift off the white of the teeth. So that kind of pattern, and then subtle it down, and then carve it out again. So carve, 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 subtle it down, focus on the front ones. So bottom edge tends to be a bit sharper. And so we're expecting something like that. Once you've got it in the mouth, smush, mush, mush. Put a general level of grey on there. Oh, I've got a real scratchy pencil. If you've got a scratchy pencil, or if you need to clear your stumpy, don't forget your sandpaper. Scratchy, scratchy. So smush, mush, mush. Hello, Chase. Is it dinner time? Is it? Is it? So put that in, and then lift out some of the teethiness. Thing to note in terms of your composition, and it's if you look at my face after I do that, and you look at the darkness and strongness of the lines between my teeth, and then compare that with the darkness in my eye or the darkness of the that isn't grey, you'll notice that it's much more the kind of level of tone of, you know, some of this stuff. So we don't want a line in there. We want a smushy, smushy darkness. Smushy, smushy. And then, where's my electric eraser gone? Oh, there you are. And then carve out. Just lift that off a bit, carve it out. So it's almost actually worthwhile getting rid of any of the lines, putting the smushy, and then erasing where the lines are not. And then in terms of the lower lip, pencil. I haven't got my glasses on, that'll help. Accept that pencil. So in terms of, so you'll have the inside of the mouth will effectively be a cave. So you won't be able to see the teeth at the side particularly. Erase, erase. And this lower lip, we're expecting this kind of form shadow stuff. So it's coming out the cave. So we'll get a soft edge there. There may be a cast shadow here underneath this thing. The lip is made of two muscles, so we often have a bit of a crease there and shadows that reflect that. And then in terms of reflection, we often have a collection of highlights on the lip. So it tends to go in both the stripe and also the skin of the lip is a little bit ribbed. So we're assuming the light's coming from here. And you might even have a nice highlight over there. So, you know, oops, that the edge of the thing has happened. So, yeah, the other thing to note is pay attention to what happens at the corners of the mouth. It tends to be quite softened. So you're not expecting a corner. You're expecting a kind of area where it goes to smushy smushy. And there may be harder edges further away from it. So we're not expecting that. We may be not expecting that. The other thing is put the hard edges where you want to pay attention. You typically don't want to pay attention in the corner of the mouth. You're more interested in that part of the mouth or some part of the eye. So that was an introduction to portraiture. Thank you very much for watching and paying attention. Your attention is of value, and I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something useful from this. I hope you learned a more forgiving way of working. It is very alien and uncomfortable when you first start it, but the fact that you can correct before you are invested in itself is incredibly useful. The boundary box is a game changer when you need to analyse something. It's particularly good if you've got somebody's head on an angle, because you can just see these triangles analysing where things are not. So where my head is not, or where my eye is not, rather than analysing the eye, will help as well in terms of your accuracy. But there's always the old-fashioned fail-safe of, if you're really struggling, just turn your picture and your reference photo upside down, because that stops some of what your brain will try and fill in for you. On the topic of that, because that's both the boundary box and turning upside down, are things mentioned in Betty Edwards' Drawing on the Right-Hand Side of the Brain. Much of this information was also covered in that book. It's a cracking book on drawing, just an absolute game changer. So anyway, thank you again to you for watching. Thank you for Paz for letting me do it, and hopefully hear from you soon. Cheers and ciao for now. Bye bye.